just a second. Let me go across to ASHWIN Parekh and Bobby Parikh, both joining us. ASHWIN Parikh, let me start by asking you, the one big takeaway that we've been talking about on the channel for about a month, January 15th, if my memory serves me right, is when the Finance Ministry had sent its guidelines to the Reserve Bank of India and very clearly had said that do not bar realty or broking businesses from being eligible to apply for a bank license. And DK Mittal, you just heard him there saying, don't keep anybody out ab initio. That was the Finance Ministry's argument. That seems to have worked with the Reserve Bank as well. Your thoughts on that?
Yes, actually, you can now see that it's really worked for the regulator very well. What he's really done is, I think he's captured the essence of that particular requirement. What was the essence? The essence was that if you are in speculative businesses and if those businesses are likely to lose value on account of market volatility, then to that extent it's a huge issue with the deposit holders and therefore the regulator. So, I mean, what he's done is he's captured the essence. He may not have specified the sectors, but now what he could do is he can create adequate evidence, in the last 1 decade. I mean, we are talking about 10 years of presence. And he can look at the evidence which says where the market cap has volatility, where the volatility has really impacted the market of different businesses of those who are applying. So the evidence is clear, and therefore the essence has been captured quite well, Shireen, if you ask me.
But Bobby Parikh, let me come to you, and the point that Sunil Godwani was making, that by giving this much elbow room, we're actually going to see perhaps a rush of applications, and then the process of elimination is going to be a complex one, and who knows what kind of discretion will come in there.
So yes, I think I suspect that there will be lots of applications, I wouldn't be very wrong if I was to say that there will be a bunch of people who will be probably disappointed at the end of the exercise. So. So at one level it's good that it throws the whole process open for everyone to apply, but then it's fair. I mean, if a banking license is being given, the regulator will exercise judgment in terms of who's fit and proper to get it.
Okay. Bobby Parikh and ASHWIN Parikh, let me get final comments from you. Bobby, let me start by asking you, from whatever we've seen so far, what would be perhaps the biggest challenge as far as potential applicants are concerned?
So I think few things. The applications have to be ready by have to be in by the 1st of July. So, and they need to have a business plan which the applicants need to sign off on and be held accountable for. So. A viable business, and it has to be viable, of course, but no deviations permitted, and Reserve Bank could draw adverse inferences, etc., etc. So lots of that work ought to have happened already if you have to meet the July 1 deadline. I think the details of how the shareholding structure on this holding company has to work is something which at least in the limited time that I had, I wasn't able to quite figure that out. But if I think there will be some, if the holding company has to have other group entities participate in it, then I think that for large complicated groups that might create some structuring issues in terms of how they put it together with many tax issues, potentially governance issues coming through. So and also the issue of whether if you have listed entities on top of this holding company and the bank itself has to be listed, which will be a subsidiary of the holding company, then the fact will be that you will have two entities at two levels which will be listed, which also has its own sets of challenges. So, those are some of my sort of immediate comments.
ASHWIN, you want to add to the challenges that Bobby just talked about?
Yeah, well, there are actually several. I mean, if I were to look at the first and the foremost is, we're talking about a completely new customer segment. We're talking about inclusion over here. And therefore, the first is the customer segment is different. Therefore, the product segments, channels, everything will have to be different. The promoters will have to, in their applications, very clearly establish that they will have a very viable business of taking banking to those markets which have not been attended to by the public system or by the banking system as yet. So that's one challenge. The second important challenge is there are a lot of clarity required. One important segment of people from where the applications could have come in is the NBFCs. Now, what will happen to NBFC's assets? If I am into, let's say, priority sector lending, or if I am into vehicle lending, and I have a huge, let's say, NBFC presence in that, Can I convert it into a bank on the first day? I don't think I can. So with this kind of guidelines, the clarity is not available. So when you get down to detail, I mean, at the principal level, the regulator has really done a remarkable job. But when you come down to looking at the detail, from various people who have talked to me for their applications, I'm getting a sense that it's going to, there are more questions than answers in the guidelines, I thought.
Absolutely. So the devil really is in the fine print. Unfortunately, we've completely run out of time. So Religare Bank, is that what it's going to be?